Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to part two of my history of the Civil Rights Association and the Civil Rights Movement in Northern Ireland. Okay, so we have been talking earlier on about Burntollet Bridge and what was basically an ambush. What were the reactions? Well, in response to events in Derry, the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association began to march again. Following yet more violence at a NICRA march in Uri, O'Neill announced that he was setting up a commission led by Lord Cameron. He stated that this commission would hold an inquiry into and to report upon the course of events leading to and the immediate causes and nature of the violence and civil disturbance in Northern Ireland on and since the 5th of October 1968. O'Neill's actions revealed the depths of division within his own government. In response to this announcement, Brian Faulkner, who at the time was Minister for Commerce, and William Morgan, the Minister for Health, resigned from the Cabinet. Following his resignation, Faulkner argued that O'Neill was too weak to control the events, and it soon became clear that Faulkner's views were gaining support within the Unionist Party. In late January 1969, 12 Unionist MPs met and demanded that O'Neill resign, both as party leader and Prime Minister. O'Neill responded to these demands by calling a general election. His aim was to show that, no matter what his own party believed, the people of Northern Ireland supported his policies. What O'Neill called the Crossroads election took place on the 24th of February 1969. Despite the Prime Minister's best efforts, the results were not what he hoped for. The Ulster Unionist Party found its levels of support reduced as its share of the vote decreased by over 10%. Not all of the MPs elected for the Unionist Party supported O'Neill's policies. O'Neill did not get the votes from Catholic voters that he had hoped to get. And O'Neill almost lost his own seat to the upstart Reverend Ian Paisley. Now, in spite of the poor election results, O'Neill remained on as Northern Ireland's Prime Minister for another 2 months. However, unable to end worsening violence and unable to heal the divisions within his own party, he resigned on the 20th of April 1969. The final nail in his coffin was a series of bombings which at the time appeared to be the work of the IRA, but which were actually carried out by loyalists in an attempt to force O'Neill to go. Now, following O'Neill's resignation, the Ulster Unionist Party held its first ever election for its new leader. The eventual winner was Major James Chichester Clark, who happened to be O'Neill's cousin. Chichester Clark defeated Brian Faulkner in the contest by just one vote. The winning vote was cast by Terence O'Neill. Just a week before, Chichester Clark had resigned from O'Neill's cabinet over the Prime Minister's announcement that the next local government elections would use one man, one vote. At the time of his resignation, he claimed that the time was not right for this reform. But following his election, the new Prime Minister stated that he would seek to continue with the reforms that O'Neill had begun. The following events at Burntollet and Derry, Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association marches and the resulting counter-demonstrations became even more confrontational. Tensions in Belfast rose to the extent that serious rioting broke out in the summer of 1969. Now, 1969 might have started with a change of Prime Minister, but all of the old problems remained. The situation had become so tense that it looked as if violence would break out at any time. As time moved closer to Northern Ireland's traditional marching season, which was really July to August, there were increasing concerns about what would happen. The government in London was so worried about the deteriorating situation in Northern Ireland that it set up a special cabinet committee on Northern Ireland. The Dublin administration sent an intelligence officer to Northern Ireland to report what was happening to the minority nationalist community. The Stormont government feared that any more increases in the levels of unrest or violence would overwhelm the police. If that was not bad enough, there was growing evidence that paramilitary groups were emerging within both communities. Loyalist paramilitaries were being set up to stop nationalists gaining further concessions. Republican paramilitaries were being set up to protect their own community. Now, the unrest that had been feared made its appearance in July 1969. Trouble first occurred in Belfast, but the worst unrest broke out in Derry in the aftermath of the Apprentice Boys marches in August. The rioting that took place in Derry lasted for 50 hours and was christened the Battle of the Bogside. Now, in the end, the police were so exhausted that the decision was taken to order a small number of British troops on the streets of Derry to help restore calm. The troops arrived on the 14th of August 1969. However, violence continued elsewhere, especially in Belfast. The baddest things were, they were not helped by the decision of Taoiseach Jack Lynch, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Ireland, to issue a statement on events north of the border. This is what Lynch stated. He has often been misquoted, but this is it verbatim. He said, "It is evident that the Stormont government is no longer in control of the situation. Indeed, the present situation is the inevitable outcome of the policies pursued for decades by successive Stormont governments. It's clear also that the Irish government can no longer stand by and see innocent people injured and perhaps worse." Now, whatever his intention, Lynch's words on his decision to send both Irish soldiers and field hospitals to locations close to the border with Northern Ireland did not improve an already tense situation. The events of August 1969 were later to be seen as a turning point in the development of what became known as the Troubles. They were seen as directly responsible for the deployment of the British Army in the streets of Northern Ireland in an attempt to restore law and order, and the eventual re-emergence of the Irish Republican Army. The government in London also decided it was time to get involved. Now, following a two-day meeting between British Prime Minister Harold Wilson and Northern Ireland Prime Minister James Chichester Clark on the 19th of August, a statement was issued that sought to provide reassurance to both nationalists and unionists in Northern Ireland. The statement, which was known as the Downing Street Declaration of August 1969, stated that Northern Ireland should not cease to be a part of the United Kingdom without the consent of the people of Northern Ireland. This was designed to appeal to unionists. Every citizen of Northern Ireland is entitled to the same equality of treatment and freedom from discrimination as exists in the rest of the United Kingdom, irrespective of political views or religion. And this was designed to appeal to nationalists. In the days and weeks ahead that followed, a number of other reforms were announced. These included the following: the introduction of one man, one vote for local elections, an end to gerrymandering, the establishment of a committee to investigate policing in Northern Ireland, a committee chaired by Lord Hunt, the creation of a tribunal led by Lord Scarman to investigate recent disturbances in Northern Ireland, the setting up of a new housing authority to look after the housing functions previously undertaken by local councils, the implementation of a range of measures aimed at preventing discrimination in public employment, and the creation of a Minister of Community Relations. Now, alongside these reforms, a number of actions designed to improve Northern Ireland's economy were also revealed, and these included additional investment grants and new work creation schemes costing £3 million. Now, many members of the unionist community were not satisfied by the reassurances contained within the Downing Street Declaration. Instead, they focused on what they viewed as more and more concessions to nationalists. They were confirmed in their suspicions when the report of the committee set up to investigate policing was published. So the Hunt Committee report recommended that the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, became a non-armed police force, and the aforementioned B Specials be disbanded and replaced by a new force, the Ulster Defence Regiment, or the UDR for short. This new part-time force would be controlled by the British Army. Some unionists were so angered by the Hunt report that rioting broke out in the Shankill Road area of Belfast, a mainly Protestant area, probably 100% Protestant. So what was the Nationalist response? Well, the Nationalist response to the reforms announced was more positive. Following the frustrations of the O'Neill period, it finally seemed as if the reforms sought by the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association and other groups were now within their grasp.